Hello, sixth graders. Welcome to 6.3. And in today, we'll be discussing fractions and decimals on the number line. In the previous lessons, we talked about how integers are those negative and positive counting numbers. Now we're going to talk about how numbers can also be negative fractions or decimals as well. Okay, so for our learning target today, we've got I can graph integers on a number line and use negative integers in real life situations. Starting with example 1 here, it says graph each number and its opposite, and they give me 3/4. One of the first things that I have to determine is what is my interval going to be? What am I going to go by? Okay, well, a hint that I have for you is to sometimes look at your denominator, and in this case, it's a 4, so I'm going to go by fourths. 1/4, 2/4, or a half, 3/4, and 4/4, which is the same as 1. And it would go the same in the negative direction. This would be negative 1/4, negative 2/4, or negative half, negative 3/4, and negative 4/4, or negative 1. Okay, again, sometimes it can help to go by fourths or go by whatever your denominator is there. It gives us a nice clear-cut graph. So graphing the number and its opposite, so graphing 3/4, there's 3/4, and negative 3/4 would be the opposite of that. Okay. Now, do you have to go by fourths? No, you could go by halves. You could even go by ones, but I was being very specific here, and you can really easily tell where 3/4 is, right? On the next one, it says graph negative 1.6 and its opposite. So here's my middle. I'll call this 0. Now, could I go by ones? Yeah, I could, but I could be a little bit more accurate. I could go by halves, and that would be better, but I think the best would be to go by 4/10 or 0.4, because if I took 0.4 and times it by 4, that would give me that 1.6. Okay, so I'll start with 0.4. 0.4 times 2 would be 0.8. Adding another 0.4 would be 1.2, and another 1.4 would be 1.6, and then finally 2.0 or 2. And then it would go the same in the next direction. Negative 0.4, negative 0.8, negative 1.2, negative 1.6, and negative 2.0 or negative 2. So graph negative 1.6 is right here, and the opposite would be positive 1.6. Okay, so one of the, I think, trickiest things to be able to do for these is come up with a interval of what each hash is going to be worth there. Why don't you go ahead and try 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pause the video now and see what you come up with. All right, so for 1, I've got 2.5. I could go by halves, so a half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, so on and so forth. So 2.5 would be here. This would be negative half, negative 1, negative 1.5, negative 2. Negative 2.5 is the opposite of 2.5. Number 2, negative 4/5. Okay, again, my hint is to go by the denominator. So 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 1, or 5/5. And the same in the negative. Negative 1/5, negative 2/5, so on and so forth. Negative 3/5 and negative 4/5. And the opposite of that would be positive 4/5. All right. For number 3, I'm going to show you that you can also just go by ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative the same. And I've got negative 3.5. So that would be negative 1, 2, 3, and a half more. There's where negative 3.5 is. And Opposite of that would be positive 3.5. So in between 3 and 4. And lastly, I've got 5.25, right? If I'll just go by ones here. And actually, I'm going to add in, I'll just go by ones and see how it looks. -1, -2, -3, so on and so forth. So if I kept my line spacing similar, this would be close to where 6 would be. So halfway is right there. That'd be 5.5. But I need 5.25, which it would be in between 5.5 and 5. All right, so right there, it's really small, a little tricky to see, but I put an arrow to it. Same as negative 5.25. So right after negative 5 would be negative 5.25 right there. Okay. If you have questions on those, let me know. Example 2 says comparing fractions and mixed numbers. So for letter A, compare -1/2 and -3/4. Well, again, I'm going to graph these, and I'll go by fourths. So -1/4, -2/4, -3/4, -4/4, and -1. And -1/2, remember, is the same as -2/4. This is the same as a half when it's simplified. And then -3/4 would be right here. So reminder from the last section, the further left you go, the smaller the number. So since -3/4 is further to the left, it will be smaller. So comparing these, I would say -1/2 is greater than -3/4. If you want to think about them as decimals, this is like -0.5 or -50 cents. And this is like if you had 3 out of 4 quarters, you'd have 75 cents. This is like -75 cents. Would you rather be 50 cents in debt or 75 cents in debt? Well, I'd rather be 50 cents in debt. I'm not in debt as much money. Okay. Letter B, 4 and 5/6 and 4 and 1/6, and they're both negative. Okay. Well, let's say this is -4 right here, and then I go by 6. So this is -4 and 1/6, -4 and 2/6, so on and so forth. This would be -4 1/2, -4 and 4/6, -4 and 5/6, plus one more 6 would be -5. And then you could continue on if you wanted to, but we don't really need to. So here I have -4 and 1/6, and here I have -4 and 5/6. Which one is further to the left? Well, that's this one. So numbers further to the left are smaller. So -4 and 5/6 is less than -4 and 1/6. It's more negative. So more negative numbers are less than. All right. Moving on to example 3, where we compare decimals. These two, you got to be careful with the decimal place. So it says compare -3.08 and -3.8. All right, I'm going to make a number line here that goes from, these numbers are in between -4 and -3. And I'm just going to go by tenths. So this would be -3.9, -3.8, -3.7, so on and so forth. 6, -3.5, 3.4, 3.3, 3.2, -3.1, and -3. So my number line goes from -3 to -4, and -3.8, kind of easy to see, is right here. Remember, you can always add zeros to the end of those numbers, and it doesn't change it at all. Okay, so this is if I'm envisioning money, like negative $3.80, whereas my first number here is like negative $3.08 would be 8 cents. Okay, that would be this would be like negative $3.10. So that would be almost to negative $3.10, right around this location. Okay. So which one of these is further to the right is greater? So negative 3.08 is further to the right. So that would be greater. So negative 3.08 would be greater than negative 3.8. If you think about it in money again, this one is like being in debt more money. So it's the smaller of the numbers. Finishing up with the real life example, choose another color here. It says a Chinook wind is a warm mountain wind that can cause rapid temperature changes. The table shows 3 of the greatest temperature drops ever recorded after a Chinook wind occurred. On which date did the temperature drop the fastest, and explain? Okay. Well, again here, it might be helpful for you if you were to graph these 3 numbers and see which one is the furthest to the left on a number line, and you'll be able to see the quickest temperature drop. Okay. So here's my number line. Not very straight, sorry about that. And I can go, let's see, I'll go from 0 and I'll go, I have to go all the way down to 3.5, or around 3. So maybe I'll go by halves. Negative half, negative 1, negative 1.5, negative 2, negative 2.5, negative 3, negative 3.5, negative 4. Okay. And the first one here is a negative 3 1/10 degree Fahrenheit per minute. So that would be just past negative 3. The next one is negative 5/8. So this would be 4/8 is a half. So 5/8 would be a little bit bigger than a half. So right past this halfway mark. You know, I'm not sure why my pen erases like this when I make a circle. I have to go in the settings and figure that out. Maybe I should put X's on instead. And then the last one is negative 2 1/5. So negative 2 1/5 would be around this region. If I think about it in tenths, it'd be 2/10, which is 0.2, and this would be 0.5, so pretty close to the middle of 2.5 and 2. So here are my 3 points, and it said on which date did the temperature drop the fastest? All right. Well, this date right here is the furthest to the left, and my temperature is dropping, so we're kind of looking for that negative number that's the least of these. So here it is on the date January 10th, 1911. Looks to be the temperature that dropped the fastest. All right, let's finish with 5, 6, and 7 for the on your own section. Please pause the video now and try them out. All right, for 5, negative 4/7 is less than negative 1/7. It would be further to the left on the number line. Number 6, negative 1 2/3 is greater than negative 1 5/6. If you get this to 6 times 2 would be 4/6. And 5/6 would be further to the left than 4/6. And lastly, for number 7, positive numbers are always greater than negative numbers. That one should have been easier for you. Okay. That wraps up 6.3 here, where we've got fractions and decimals on the number line, and now we introduce those negative ones. Very similar to positive ones, just kind of have to keep track of those negatives, and also it helps to think which one is further to the left or right on a number line, depending if you're looking for the larger or smaller numbers. Hope that helps, and that's all I got for today. I will see you next time.